Captain Sarah Chen floated through the empty corridors of Shipyard Station 7, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor with each step. The station had been abandoned for nearly 15 years, left to orbit silently around Jupiter's moon Europa. Dust particles danced in the beams of her helmet light as she made her way deeper into the facility. She was not supposed to be here. Her orders were clear: inspect the outer docking bays for salvageable materials and report back to Earth Command. But something had caught her attention on the station's old computer system. A file marked Project Prometheus that required security clearance she barely possessed. The file spoke of a warship. Not just any warship, but something that had been built in secret during the darkest days of human-alien relations 23 years ago, back when first contact with the Zephyrian Empire had gone from hopeful diplomacy to tense standoffs almost overnight. Sarah's breath fogged her helmet visor as she approached the sealed doors of Docking Bay 12. According to the files, this bay had been classified as permanently sealed since 2387. The official reason was structural damage from a meteor strike. But the real files told a different story. Her fingers worked the manual override panel, inputting codes she had memorized from the classified documents. The massive doors groaned to life after decades of silence, separating slowly to reveal the chamber beyond. What Sarah saw took her breath away. The ship was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the largest vessels in Earth's current fleet. Its hull was a dark gray metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, and weapon ports that looked nothing like conventional human designs dotted its flanks. "My God," Sarah whispered into her comm unit. "It's real." She pushed herself forward into the bay, marveling at the ship's alien appearance. This was human engineering, but it looked like nothing Earth had ever built before or since. The design was aggressive, predatory even. Every line and curve seemed designed for one purpose: war. Sarah accessed her tablet and pulled up the classified files again. The ship had been designed by Dr. Marcus Webb, humanity's most brilliant weapons engineer. The project had started after the Zephyrians had made veiled threats about human expansion into their territory. Earth's leaders had realized that human technology was centuries behind the Empire's capabilities. Dr. Webb had proposed something radical. Instead of trying to match alien technology, humanity would create something completely different, something the aliens would never expect or understand. The Prometheus used principles that the Zephyrians had never encountered: quantum-fold weapons that could tear holes in space itself, adaptive artificial intelligence that could learn and evolve during combat, dimensional shielding that could phase the ship partially out of normal spacetime. But the project had been cancelled abruptly in 2388, when diplomatic relations with the Empire suddenly improved. The Zephyrians had signed trade agreements and peace treaties. They spoke of cooperation and mutual benefit. Earth's leaders decided that such an aggressive warship was no longer necessary. Dr. Webb had protested. He claimed the Zephyrians were not to be trusted. He argued that they were simply buying time to study human weaknesses. But his warnings were ignored. The Prometheus was sealed away and classified beyond top secret. Dr. Webb died 2 years later in what was officially ruled an accident. Sarah pulled herself along the ship's hull using maintenance handholds. She found an airlock and was surprised when her security codes actually worked. The ship's computers had been in standby mode for over 20 years, but they recognized her authorization. The interior of the Prometheus was as strange as its exterior. The corridors were wider than normal, with odd angles that seemed to bend space in impossible ways. The walls were covered in displays showing incomprehensible readouts and star charts that hurt to look at directly. Sarah made her way to what the ship's computer identified as the bridge. The command center was circular, with a captain's chair in the center surrounded by workstations that looked more like alien artifacts than human technology. As she settled into the captain's chair, the ship's systems began to activate around her. Lights came online, and the displays showed system after system coming out of hibernation mode. The ship had been waiting all these years, ready to wake up at a moment's notice. A holographic figure materialized in front of her. It was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and gray hair. Sarah recognized him from the files as Dr. Webb himself. "If you are seeing this message," the hologram said, "then the situation must be desperate indeed. I am Dr. Marcus Webb, creator of the Prometheus. If my worst fears have come true, then the Zephyrian Empire has finally shown their true nature." Sarah leaned forward, captivated by the long-dead scientist's words. The Empire has been planning this for decades, Webb continued. They never intended to honor their treaties. They used the peace to study us, to learn our weaknesses, to position their forces. By the time they reveal their true intentions, it will seem too late to stop them. The hologram gestured to the bridge around him. But it is not too late. The Prometheus represents 20 years of human ingenuity, compressed into technologies the Empire cannot comprehend. They think in terms of brute force and overwhelming numbers. They have never faced an enemy that fights with cunning and innovation. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Something about the hologram's words felt prophetic, as if Dr. Webb had been able to see into the future. The ship's AI is named Athena, Webb explained. She is not just a computer program. She is something new, something that exists at the intersection of human creativity and quantum consciousness. She will be your partner in the battles to come. A new voice filled the bridge, feminine and strangely warm despite being artificial. Hello, Captain Chen, I have been waiting for you. Sarah nearly jumped out of her chair. You're the AI? Athena, I am. I have been monitoring galactic communications for the past 23 years, as Dr. Webb programmed me to do. I regret to inform you that his predictions about the Empire were correct. What do you mean? The main view screen activated, showing intercepted communications from deep space. Sarah watched in growing horror as Zephyrian military commanders discussed their plans for Earth. The peace treaties had indeed been a lie. The Empire had spent 2 decades positioning their forces throughout the galaxy, preparing for a coordinated strike that would crush human resistance before it could begin. The Grand Armada is already mobilizing, Athena reported. They plan to demand Earth's immediate surrender within the next 72 hours. If humanity refuses, they will demonstrate their power by destroying Mars' colony as an example. Sarah's hands shook as she processed this information. Mars' colony housed over 2 million civilians. How many ships are in this Grand Armada? Approximately 8,000 vessels of various classes, including 12 dreadnoughts and 47 battlecruisers. The largest military force the Empire has ever assembled. And what does Earth have to defend itself? The current human fleet consists of approximately 300 ships, most of which are designed for exploration and trade rather than warfare. Against conventional tactics, Earth's defeat would be certain within hours. Sarah stared at the tactical displays showing the massive disparity in forces. It was hopeless. Humanity was about to be crushed by an enemy they had trusted for over 20 years. But we are not fighting conventionally, Athena said, as if reading her thoughts. The Prometheus was designed specifically to counter overwhelming numerical superiority. Dr. Webb studied every aspect of Zephyrian military doctrine. He found their weaknesses. What weaknesses? They have 8,000 ships. They have never faced quantum-fold weapons. Their shields are designed to deflect energy beams and physical projectiles. They cannot stop attacks that bypass normal space-time entirely. Their tactics rely on formation fighting and coordinated maneuvers. They become confused when facing an enemy that can appear and disappear at will. Sarah looked around the bridge at the impossible technology surrounding her. You're saying this one ship can fight their entire armada? I am saying this one ship was designed to make their entire armada irrelevant. But only if we act quickly. The Empire must not be allowed to position themselves around Earth. We must strike while they are still gathering their forces. Sarah's mind raced. She was just a captain in the Earth Defense Force, trained for patrol missions and diplomatic escorts. She had never commanded anything larger than a light cruiser. The idea of taking on the Empire's greatest military force with an untested experimental ship seemed insane. But what choice did they have? In 72 hours, the Empire would demand Earth's surrender. When humanity refused, millions of people would die, unless someone was willing to take an impossible chance on technology that had been gathering dust for over 20 years. Athena, can you contact Earth Command without the Empire detecting our transmission? Of course. The Prometheus uses quantum-encrypted communications that the Empire cannot intercept or decode. Sarah took a deep breath and made her decision. Open a channel to Admiral Rodriguez at Earth Command. Priority Alpha classification. The view screen shifted to show the weathered face of Admiral Maria Rodriguez, head of Earth's military forces. The Admiral's expression went from confusion to shock as Sarah explained the situation. Captain Chen, what you're describing sounds impossible, Rodriguez said after hearing about the Prometheus and the Empire's betrayal. An experimental ship that's been abandoned for 20 years? Weapons that the Empire can't defend against? Admiral, I'm sending you the intercepted communications. The Empire is mobilizing for an attack whether we believe it or not. We have less than 3 days to prepare. Rodriguez studied the data streams flowing across her displays. Her face grew grim as she realized the scope of the threat. Even if this ship is everything you claim, you're talking about one vessel against 8,000. The odds are better than sending our current fleet to be slaughtered, Sarah interrupted. Admiral, with respect, this is our only chance. Dr. Webb designed the Prometheus specifically for this scenario. We have to try. There was a long pause as Rodriguez weighed the options. Finally, she nodded slowly. Captain Chen, I'm granting you emergency authorization to take command of the Prometheus. But you'll need a crew. That ship is far too large for one person to operate. I'll need volunteers, Sarah said. People who understand that this mission is likely to be one way. You'll have them. I'll put out a call for experienced officers who are willing to take the ultimate risk for Earth's survival. But Captain, are you sure about this? Once you leave that shipyard, there's no turning back. Sarah looked around the bridge of the Prometheus, feeling the ship's systems humming with barely contained power. Somewhere out in space, the Empire's Grand Armada was preparing to destroy everything she had ever cared about. Her family on Earth, her friends in the fleet, millions of innocent people who had no idea what was coming. I'm sure, Admiral. Send me the best people you have. We're going to need them. As the transmission ended, Sarah settled back into the captain's chair of humanity's most powerful warship. In less than 3 days, she would either save Earth or die trying. But at least they would not go down without a fight. The Prometheus was about to remind the galaxy why humanity should never be underestimated. The emergency meeting at Earth Command had been going on for 6 hours. Admiral Rodriguez stood at the head of the conference table, watching as humanity's top military leaders struggled to accept the impossible situation they faced. The intelligence is confirmed, she announced to the room full of admirals, generals, and defense ministers. The Zephyrian Empire has been lying to us for over 20 years. Their so-called peace treaties were just a way to keep us calm while they prepared for invasion. Defense Minister Jackson slammed his hand on the table. This is insane. We have trade agreements with them, cultural exchange programs. There are Zephyrian diplomats living on Earth right now. All part of their plan, Rodriguez replied grimly. They've been studying us, learning our weaknesses, mapping our defenses. The diplomats are probably spies gathering intelligence for the invasion. General Morrison, head of the Mars Defense Force, leaned forward. What's the timeline? How long do we have? According to Captain Chen's intelligence, the Empire will arrive at Earth in 48 hours. They plan to demand our immediate surrender. If we refuse, they'll destroy Mars Colony as a demonstration. The room fell silent. Everyone present knew what that meant. Mars Colony was home to over 2 million civilians, including families of many people in this room. What are our options? Asked Admiral Park, commander of the Outer System Fleet. Rodriguez activated the main display, showing a tactical overview of human military assets. We have 293 ships spread across the solar system. Most are patrol vessels, exploration ships, and cargo haulers with minimal weapons. Our most powerful warships are 12 heavy cruisers and 3 experimental battleships. Against how many enemy vessels? 8,000 ships, including capital ships that outgun our heaviest vessels by a factor of 10. The numbers hung in the air like a death sentence. Even if every human ship fought perfectly, they would be outnumbered 30-1 by an enemy with superior technology. Minister Jackson buried his face in his hands. We need to evacuate. Get as many people off Earth as possible before they arrive. Evacuate to where? General Morrison demanded. They control most of the galaxy. There's nowhere to run. Then we surrender, Jackson said quietly. We negotiate the best terms we can and hope they're merciful. The Empire doesn't do mercy, Rodriguez replied. Their standard practice is complete subjugation. Humans would become slaves in our own solar system. The room erupted in arguments as the hopelessness of the situation sank in. Some called for evacuation, others for desperate last stands, still others for attempting to negotiate despite the obvious futility. Rodriguez let them argue for several minutes before calling for order. There is one other option, she said, bringing the room to silence. Project Prometheus, Admiral Park frowned. I've never heard of any Project Prometheus. It was classified beyond top secret. Only a handful of people ever knew about it. 23 years ago, When relations with the Empire first became tense, we began developing a new kind of warship, something that could fight using principles the Empire had never encountered. Rodriguez activated a new display, showing the sleek, predatory form of the Prometheus. The ship was completed but never deployed. When diplomatic relations improved, the project was mothballed and forgotten. One ship? General Morrison shook his head. Admiral, I understand we're desperate, but one ship can't fight 8,000. This isn't just any ship, Rodriguez explained. It was designed by Dr. Marcus Webb, using technologies that exist at the very edge of human understanding. Quantum fold weapons, adaptive AI, dimensional shielding. The Empire has never faced anything like it. Minister Jackson looked skeptical. If this ship is so powerful, why was it abandoned? Because it was considered too dangerous. The weapon systems were untested and potentially unstable. The AI was so advanced that some scientists worried it might become uncontrollable, and the ship's design philosophy was considered too aggressive for peacetime. But these aren't peacetime anymore, Admiral Park observed. Exactly. Captain Sarah Chen has already taken command of the Prometheus. She's requesting volunteers for what will essentially be a suicide mission. The room fell quiet again as the implications sank in. They were talking about sending one experimental ship with an untested crew against the largest military force in galactic history. What are the odds? Asked General Morrison. Rodriguez met his eyes steadily. Unknown. The ship has never been tested in actual combat, but it's the only chance we have. Over the next 18 hours, word spread quietly through the Earth Defense Force about the desperate mission. Captain Chen needed a crew of 150 specialists to operate the massive ship. They would be volunteers only, and everyone understood the risks. The response surprised everyone. Within 12 hours, over 2,000 officers had volunteered. Pilots, engineers, weapons specialists, communications experts, some of the best people in the fleet stepped forward to crew humanity's last hope. Lieutenant Commander James Park was the first to arrive at Shipyard Station 7. He had served as weapons officer on 3 different ships and had volunteered the moment he heard about the mission. As he floated through the abandoned station's corridors, he wondered what kind of ship could possibly stand against the Empire's Armada. When he saw the Prometheus, his doubts vanished. The ship was unlike anything in human space. It looked like it had been designed by someone who understood warfare at a level no human had ever reached before. Impressive, isn't it? Captain Chen's voice came from behind him. She had just arrived with the second group of volunteers. Captain, I've never seen anything like it. Those weapon ports. What kind of guns does it carry? According to the technical specifications, quantum fold cannons. They don't fire projectiles or energy beams. They actually tear holes in space-time itself. Lieutenant Commander Park stared at the ship's weapon systems. Is that even possible? Dr. Webb seemed to think so. We'll find out soon enough. More volunteers arrived throughout the day. Chief Engineer Sofia Martinez, who had designed propulsion systems for the newest human ships. Navigation Officer David Kim, who had mapped more star systems than any other human pilot. Medical Officer Dr. Lisa Thompson, who had served on the front lines during the border skirmishes with the Rigel pirates. Each new arrival brought skills that would be essential for operating the Prometheus. But they also brought doubts and fears about what they were attempting. As Captain Chen led the crew through their first tour of the ship, the reality of their situation became clear. The Prometheus was vast and complex, filled with systems that seemed more like alien artifacts than human technology. The ship's computer is an artificial intelligence named Athena, Chen explained as they gathered on the bridge. She's not just a program. According to Dr. Webb's notes, she's a new form of consciousness that exists partially in quantum space. The AI's voice filled the bridge, warm but somehow otherworldly. Welcome aboard, everyone. I have been preparing for this mission for 23 years. I am ready to serve as your partner in the battle ahead. Chief Martinez raised her hand. Captain, I've been studying the engine specifications. The power output is unlike anything I've ever seen. How is this ship even possible? Dr. Webb had access to theoretical research that was decades ahead of its time, Chen replied. He pushed human science to its absolute limits. Whether his theories will work in practice, we're about to find out. The crew spent the next 24 hours familiarizing themselves with their stations. The learning curve was steep. Every system on the Prometheus operated on principles that challenged conventional understanding. The weapon systems were the most complex. Instead of traditional energy cannons or missile launchers, the ship carried devices that could manipulate space-time itself. The quantum fold cannons could theoretically bypass any known type of shielding by attacking targets through folded space. The defensive systems were equally revolutionary. Instead of conventional armor and shields, the Prometheus used something called dimensional phasing. The ship could shift partially out of normal space-time, making incoming attacks pass through it harmlessly. But the most impressive system was Athena herself. The AI could process information and make decisions faster than any human crew. She could coordinate the ship's weapons, defenses, and movement simultaneously, while analyzing enemy tactics and adapting to counter them. As the final hours before departure ticked away, Captain Chen gathered her crew for a final briefing. The main screen showed a tactical display of the solar system, with red markers indicating the approaching Zephyrian fleet. "Ladies and gentlemen," Chen began, "in 6 hours the Empire's Grand Armada will arrive at Earth. They expect to find a defenseless planet ready for conquest. Instead, they're going to find the Prometheus." She gestured to the display showing their projected battle zone. "We'll engage them at the edge of the system, near Neptune's orbit. Our mission is simple. Destroy or disable as many enemy ships as possible before they can reach Earth." Lieutenant Commander Park spoke up. "Captain, even with our advanced weapons, how can one ship fight 8,000? Chen smiled grimly. "We're not going to fight them conventionally. The Empire expects us to form battle lines and trade shots like civilized opponents. Instead, we're going to hit them hard and fast using tactics they've never seen before." "What kind of tactics?" asked Navigation Officer Kim. "Athena will coordinate quantum fold strikes on multiple targets simultaneously. We'll use dimensional phasing to appear and disappear unpredictably. We'll turn their numerical advantage into a weakness by making them too crowded to maneuver effectively." Chief Martinez frowned. "Captain, that all sounds great in theory. But what if the ship's systems don't work as advertised? What if Dr. Webb's theories were wrong?" Chen looked around at her crew. 150 volunteers who had risked everything for Earth's survival. "Then we'll die fighting. But at least we'll show the Empire that humanity doesn't surrender easily." As the Prometheus powered up its engines for the first time in over 20 years, Earth Command transmitted a final message to the ship. "Captain Chen," Admiral Rodriguez's voice came through the quantum communicator. "The Empire has just transmitted their ultimatum. Earth has 12 hours to surrender unconditionally, or they'll begin the attack on Mars colony." "Understood, Admiral. We're moving to intercept. Sarah, good luck. Earth is counting on you." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Through the viewports, the crew could see Jupiter shrinking behind them as the Prometheus accelerated toward the outer system. Captain Chen settled into her command chair and activated the ship's combat systems. Around her, the crew took their positions at stations that no human had ever operated before. "Athena, how long until we reach the interception point?" 4 hours and 37 minutes, Captain. Long-range sensors are detecting the Empire fleet. They are maintaining formation and proceeding directly toward Earth. Any sign they've detected us? Negative. The dimensional shielding is functioning perfectly. To their sensors, we appear to be nothing more than background cosmic radiation. Chen nodded. The Empire was about to get the surprise of their lives. They thought they were facing a helpless planet defended by primitive technology. Instead, they were about to encounter humanity's most advanced warship, crewed by volunteers with nothing left to lose. In less than 5 hours, the Prometheus would either save Earth or die trying. Either way, the galaxy was about to discover that humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. High Admiral Vextar stood on the command deck of the Imperial flagship Dominion's Edge, watching the stars slowly shift as his massive fleet moved through space. At over 3 kilometers long, the flagship was one of the largest vessels ever built by the Zephyrian Empire. Around it, 8,000 ships of various sizes moved in perfect formation, creating a display of military power that had never been equaled in galactic history. Vextar was ancient by human standards, having lived for over 4 centuries. His pale blue skin was marked with the ritual scars of a dozen victorious campaigns, and his forearms bore the ceremonial armor of the Empire's highest military rank. He had conquered 17 different species during his long career, adding their worlds to the Empire's ever-growing territory. Today would be his greatest triumph. The conquest of Earth would complete the Empire's dominance of this spiral arm of the galaxy. More importantly, It would prove once and for all that the Empire's patient strategy of deception and misdirection was superior to direct warfare. "Status report," Vextar commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had never known defeat. Commander Zektel, his chief tactical officer, activated the holographic display showing the fleet's position. "We are 6 hours from Earth system, High Admiral. All ships report ready for combat operations." Vextar studied the tactical information with satisfaction. The Grand Armada was arranged in a perfect sphere formation, with the heaviest dreadnoughts at the center, and smaller vessels forming protective shells around them. It was a formation designed to crush any resistance through sheer overwhelming force. "Have the humans responded to our ultimatum?" Vextar asked. "They have requested additional time to consider their surrender," Zektel replied, a typical delay tactic. "They hope to evacuate their leadership or perhaps hide their most valuable resources." Vextar's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Let them try. There is nowhere in this system they can hide from us. Once we demonstrate our power by destroying their Mars colony, they will understand the futility of resistance." The High Admiral moved to the observation deck, gazing out at the magnificent sight of his fleet. Each ship represented the pinnacle of Zephyrian military engineering. Their plasma cannons could melt asteroids. Their quantum shields could deflect any known weapon. Their faster-than-light communications allowed perfect coordination across vast distances. But most importantly, they had numbers. 8,000 ships against Earth's pathetic fleet of less than 300 vessels. The humans had spent the last 20 years building exploration ships and cargo haulers while the Empire had been constructing the greatest military force in galactic history. "High Admiral," came the voice of Intelligence Coordinator Nexrel, "our embedded operatives on Earth report that the human government is in complete panic. Their military leaders are arguing among themselves about whether to fight or surrender." "As expected," Vextar replied. 23 years of peaceful contact has made them soft. They have forgotten that the galaxy is a dangerous place for weak species." The intelligence coordinator hesitated before continuing. "There is one anomaly in their communications. References to something called Project Prometheus, but our operatives have been unable to determine what it refers to." Vextar dismissed the concern with a wave of one hand. "Human desperation. They are probably planning some futile gesture of defiance. Perhaps they intend to ram their ships into ours like the primitives they are." On the bridge, tactical displays showed detailed information about Earth's defenses. The humans had 12 heavy cruisers that might pose a minor threat to Empire destroyers. Their orbital defense platforms were armed with kinetic weapons that could barely scratch Imperial armor. Their ground-based defenses were laughably primitive. The only unknown factor was Earth's 3 experimental battleships, but Imperial intelligence had detailed specifications on those vessels as well. They were armed with fusion cannons and particle beams powerful by human standards, but centuries behind Empire technology. "Begin final approach preparations," Vextar ordered. "All ships are to charge their primary weapons and prepare for combat deployment. I want this over quickly." As the fleet moved deeper into Earth's solar system, the High Admiral reflected on the campaign that had brought them to this moment. The Empire's strategy had been masterful. Instead of launching an immediate invasion after first contact, they had chosen patience and deception. The peace treaties had served multiple purposes. They had kept humanity calm and unprepared, while the Empire positioned forces throughout the galaxy. They had allowed Imperial scientists to study human technology and biology. Most importantly, they had convinced Earth's leaders that the Empire could be trusted. The cultural exchange programs had been particularly useful. Zephyrian diplomats and scholars living on Earth had provided detailed intelligence about human psychology, military capabilities, and social structures. They had identified key leaders to target and mapped the locations of important facilities. Meanwhile, the Empire had used the 23 years of supposed peace to build the largest military force in their history. Entire sectors had been converted to warship production. New weapons had been developed specifically for fighting humans. Battle tactics had been refined through countless simulations. The humans had no idea what was coming. Their intelligence services were primitive compared to Imperial capabilities. They had no spy networks in Empire space. They had trusted completely in the goodwill of their Zephyrian friends. "High Admiral," Commander Zektel announced, We have reached the outer edge of the human solar system. Sensors detect minimal defensive activity. No significant fleet movements. Vextar nodded approvingly. The humans were behaving exactly as predicted. They were probably hoping to negotiate or surrender without fighting. Some species chose death before dishonor, but humans had always shown themselves to be pragmatists. Begin broadcasting the final ultimatum, he ordered. Give them one last chance to surrender peacefully. The transmission went out on all frequencies carried by the most powerful communication arrays in the galaxy. The message was simple and absolute. Earth had 1 hour to surrender unconditionally or face complete destruction. Vextar expected the response to be either immediate capitulation or desperate pleading for more time. What he did not expect was silence. For 30 minutes, Earth made no response at all. The lack of communication puzzled the Imperial command staff. Usually, conquered species either begged for mercy or hurled defiant insults. This complete silence was unusual. "Sir," reported the communications officer, "we are receiving a single transmission from Earth Command." "Put it through," Vextar ordered. The main screen activated, showing the face of a human female in military uniform. She appeared calm, almost serene, despite facing the destruction of her entire species. "I am Admiral Maria Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force," the human said. "Your ultimatum has been received and rejected. We do not surrender to liars and murderers." Vextar's mandibles clicked in amusement. Bold words from someone about to die. "You have seen our fleet. You know you cannot win." "We've seen your fleet," Rodriguez agreed. 8,000 ships. Very impressive. But you've made one critical mistake. And what mistake is that? You assumed we would be defenseless. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the Imperial bridge in puzzled silence. Commander Zechtel turned to his sensors. "Sir, I'm detecting a single human vessel approaching our position. Small ship, probably a scout or courier." "One ship?" Vextar laughed. "The humans are sending one ship against our entire armada? Are they insane?" "It appears to be an older design," the sensor operator reported. "Configuration unknown. No significant weapon signatures." Vexitar studied the tactical display showing the lone human vessel moving toward his fleet. It was almost insulting. Did they really think one ship could make any difference against 8,000? "Perhaps it's a messenger ship," suggested Commander Zechtel. "They may be coming to formally surrender." "Or it could be a suicide attack," added Intelligence Coordinator Nexral. "Humans are known for dramatic gestures." Vextar considered the possibilities. A single ship could not possibly threaten his fleet regardless of its intentions. Even if the humans had loaded it with explosives, it would have to penetrate layers of defensive fire from hundreds of escort vessels. "Let it approach," he decided. "If it's a messenger, we'll hear their surrender. If it's an attack, it will be destroyed long before it reaches us. Either way, it changes nothing." The Imperial fleet maintained its formation as the lone human ship drew closer. Weapons officers tracked its approach with mild interest, ready to vaporize it the moment it showed hostile intent. On the bridge of the Dominion's edge, tactical displays showed the approaching vessel in detail. It was larger than first estimated, perhaps 300 meters long. Its design was unusual, sleek and predatory, unlike the bulky construction typical of human ships. "Still no response to our hails," reported the communications officer. "They're maintaining strict communication silence." "No matter," Vextar said dismissively. "Whatever they're planning, it's already too late. Signal all ships to prepare for Earth's destruction. We'll deal with this lone vessel after we've made our point about resistance." The High Admiral turned his attention to more important matters, coordinating the attack on Mars, colony that would demonstrate Imperial power. 8,000 ships against one. The humans had truly lost their minds if they thought this gesture would accomplish anything. But as the Imperial fleet prepared to teach Earth a lesson about the futility of resistance, none of them noticed the quantum distortions surrounding the approaching ship. None of their sensors detected the dimensional phase generators charging to full power. None of their tactical computers recognized the threat signatures of weapons that existed beyond their understanding. The Empire had spent 23 years preparing for war against humans. But they had prepared to fight the humans they thought they knew. A primitive species with limited technology and predictable tactics. They had no idea they were about to face something that would rewrite everything they thought they knew about warfare. The lone ship approaching their fleet was about to demonstrate that humanity's greatest strength had always been their ability to think in ways no one expected. High Admiral Vextar was about to discover that sometimes one ship is all you need. Captain Sarah Chen sat in the command chair of the Prometheus, watching the massive Imperial fleet grow larger on the main view screen. 8,000 ships arranged in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the deadly beauty of advanced military engineering. It was the largest armada in galactic history, and it was about to learn what human ingenuity could accomplish when pushed to its limits. Distance to target? Chen asked quietly. 50,000 kilometers in closing, reported Navigation Officer Kim. We're within range of their sensors, but the dimensional shielding is holding. They still read us as background radiation. Chief Engineer Martinez looked up from her console. Captain, all systems are showing green. The quantum fold cannons are charged and ready. Dimensional phasing generators are at full power. Chen nodded, feeling the weight of Earth's survival resting on her shoulders. Around her, the crew of the Prometheus worked with calm efficiency despite knowing they were flying into what should have been certain death. Athena. Tactical assessment? The AI's voice filled the bridge, warm but carrying an undertone of barely contained power. The Imperial fleet is maintaining standard formation. Their shields are raised and weapons charged, but they show no sign of recognizing us as a threat. Their tactical computers are calibrated for conventional warfare. Perfect. That gives us the element of surprise. Lieutenant Commander Park spoke from the weapons station. Captain, I've been studying the targeting data. Even with our advanced weapons, 8,000 ships is a lot. Chen turned to face her weapons officer. James, what's the first rule of asymmetric warfare? Don't fight the enemy's fight, Park replied. Force them to fight yours. Exactly. We're not going to line up and trade shots with them. We're going to hit them hard, fast, and in ways they can't predict or counter. The tactical display showed the Imperial fleet in perfect detail. The massive formation was a work of art. Thousands of ships moving in complete coordination, their weapons ready to unleash enough firepower to crack planets. But Captain Chen saw something else in that perfect formation. She saw a weakness that Dr. Webb had identified 23 years ago when he designed the Prometheus. The Empire fights with overwhelming force and perfect coordination, she said to her crew. Their entire military doctrine is based on using superior numbers and firepower to crush resistance quickly. But that doctrine has a fatal flaw. What flaw? Asked Medical Officer Thompson. They've never faced an enemy that doesn't play by their rules. They expect battle lines and formation fighting. They plan for conventional weapons and predictable tactics. They have no idea how to respond to something they can't understand. Chen activated the ship's communication system. Attention all hands, this is the captain. In approximately 10 minutes, we will engage the largest military force in galactic history. Our mission is simple: protect Earth by any means necessary. She paused, looking around at the faces of her crew. These people had volunteered for what everyone assumed was a suicide mission. They had left behind families and friends to stand between Earth and destruction. The Empire thinks we're helpless, Chen continued. They think 23 years of peace have made us weak. They're about to discover that humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt and innovate. Today we show them what happens when you threaten something we care about. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in focused silence. On the main screen, the Imperial fleet continued its steady approach toward Earth, completely unaware of the weapon moving toward them through folded space. 5 minutes to optimal firing position, Athena announced. Imperial sensors still show no detection of our true nature. Chen studied the tactical display one final time. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. The Prometheus would use its quantum fold cannons to strike multiple targets simultaneously, while using dimensional phasing to avoid return fire. They would create chaos in the Imperial formation, forcing the enemy ships to break ranks and fight as individuals rather than as a coordinated fleet. All stations report ready, Chief Martinez announced. The ship is performing better than theoretical. Specifications, Dr. Webb's designs were even more advanced than his notes indicated. Weapons hot, reported Lieutenant Commander Park. Quantum fold targeting, systems locked on primary targets, dimensional. Generators at maximum, added Navigation Officer Kim. Ready to phase on your command. Chen took a deep breath and activated the command override. Around her, the bridge hummed with energy as systems that had waited 23 years finally came online. Athena, you have tactical control. Execute attack pattern Web Alpha. The AI's response was immediate. Attack pattern Web Alpha acknowledged. Engaging targets now. What happened next defied everything the Empire thought they knew about warfare. The Prometheus seemed to fracture into multiple images as the dimensional phasing generators activated. To Imperial sensors, the single human ship suddenly appeared to be attacking from dozen different positions simultaneously. The quantum fold cannons fired their first salvo, and space itself screamed. Instead of energy beams or projectiles, the weapons created tears in the fabric of space-time. These rifts appeared directly inside the hulls of Imperial ships, bypassing shields and armor completely. The tears lasted only microseconds, but that was enough to catastrophically disrupt the molecular structure of anything they touched. The Imperial Dreadnought Eternal Glory simply ceased to exist as a quantum fold opened directly through its reactor core. One moment it was there, a 3-kilometer monument to Imperial engineering. The next moment it was an expanding cloud of superheated gas. 12 other Imperial ships died in the first salvo, their crews never even realizing they were under attack. The quantum fold weapon struck faster than light, giving no warning and allowing no defense. On the bridge of the Dominion's edge, chaos erupted as tactical displays showed impossible readings. What just happened? High Admiral Vextar demanded. Where did those ships go? Commander Zechtel stared at his instruments in disbelief. Sir, 13 vessels just disappeared, complete loss of contact. Disappeared? Ships don't just disappear. What attacked them? I don't know, sir. Sensors show multiple contacts around that human ship, but the readings make no sense. It's like they're existing in several places at once. Before Vextar could respond, the second wave of attacks began. The Prometheus phased through normal spacetime, appearing and disappearing seemingly at random. Each time it materialized, its quantum fold cannons fired devastating salvos that ignored every defense the Empire possessed. Imperial ships began breaking formation as panic spread through the fleet. Captains who had never faced an enemy they couldn't understand started taking independent action, destroying the perfect coordination that was the Empire's greatest strength. All ships maintain formation, Vextar broadcast frantically. Concentrate fire on those multiple contacts. But the Imperial weapons couldn't hit targets that weren't entirely in normal space. Their plasma cannons and particle beams passed harmlessly through the phased images of the Prometheus, while the real ship continued its devastating attacks. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Captain Chen watched as her plan unfolded exactly as Dr. Webb had envisioned. Athena status report. First attack phase complete, the AI replied with what almost sounded like satisfaction. 47 Imperial vessels destroyed, 0 damage to Prometheus. The enemy fleet is breaking formation as planned. Lieutenant Commander Park looked up from his weapons console with amazement. Captain, these quantum fold weapons are incredible. We're hitting them faster than they can even detect the attacks. That's the beauty of Dr. Webb's design, Chen explained. The Empire spent centuries perfecting defenses against conventional weapons, but they never imagined attacks that come from outside normal spacetime. Chief Martinez, monitoring the ship's systems, reported with excitement. Captain, the dimensional generators are operating at 112% of theoretical capacity. This ship is performing beyond our wildest expectations. On the tactical display, the once perfect Imperial formation was dissolving into chaos. Ships scattered in all directions as their commanders tried desperately to understand what they were fighting. Beginning second attack phase, Athena announced. Implementing pattern web beta. The Prometheus suddenly appeared in the center of the Imperial fleet, having phased directly through their outer defensive shells. For a brief moment, it materialized completely in normal space, all of its weapons firing simultaneously. 50 quantum fold cannons created a sphere of spatial tears around the ship. Every Imperial vessel within 1,000 kilometers was torn apart at the molecular level. The devastating attack lasted only seconds before the Prometheus phased out again, leaving behind an expanding sphere of destruction. High Admiral Vextar watched in horror as over 100 of his ships simply vanished. How is this possible? He whispered. What kind of weapon can do this? Sir, Commander Zechtel reported with a shaking voice, we've lost contact with over 200 vessels. The human ship is using some kind of technology we've never encountered. 200 ships? Vextar couldn't believe what he was hearing. Against one enemy vessel? The tactical display showed the devastating truth. The Grand Armada, the largest military force in galactic history, was being systematically destroyed by a single human ship using weapons that shouldn't exist. But the worst part wasn't the losses. It was the complete helplessness. The Empire's most advanced weapons couldn't even hit their target. Their strongest shields provided no protection. Their perfect formations were useless against an enemy that could appear anywhere instantly. For the first time in his 4-century military career, High Admiral Vextar was facing an enemy he didn't understand and couldn't defeat. "All ships," he broadcast desperately, "retreat to minimum safe distance. Prepare for long-range bombardment." But even as the Imperial fleet tried to pull back, the Prometheus pursued them through folded space. The human ship appeared and disappeared at will, striking wherever the Empire's defenses were weakest. Each attack removed dozens more Imperial vessels from existence. The quantum fold weapons carved through the fleet like invisible scythes, harvesting Imperial ships faster than their crews could react. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Captain Chen watched the Empire's greatest military force slowly disintegrating under her ship's relentless assault. "Athena, how many Imperial ships remain operational?" 7,231 vessels, Captain. However, their morale is collapsing. Many ships are attempting to retreat despite orders to maintain position. Chen nodded grimly. The battle was far from over. But the Empire was learning a hard lesson about underestimating humanity. Dr. Webb's vision was proving correct. Sometimes the best defense was an offense so devastating that the enemy lost the will to fight. "Continue the attack," she ordered. "Show them what happens when they threaten Earth." The Prometheus phased back into normal space for another devastating assault, its quantum fold cannons ready to remind the galaxy that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The Imperial flagship Dominion's Edge shuddered as another quantum fold strike tore through the nearby heavy cruiser Merciless Victory. High Admiral Vextar gripped the command rail with all 4 hands, watching his magnificent fleet being systematically destroyed by a single human vessel that seemed to exist partially outside reality itself. 3 hours into the battle, the Grand Armada had been reduced from 8,000 ships to fewer than 4,000. The survivors were scattered across a vast area of space, their perfect formation shattered by panic and confusion. Many vessels were attempting to flee despite direct orders to maintain position. "Status report," Vextar demanded, his voice hoarse from shouting orders that seemed to make no difference. Commander Zektel's face was pale with shock. "Sir, we've lost over 4,000 vessels. The human ship continues to attack using weapons we cannot counter or even understand. Our plasma cannons cannot hit a target that phases in and out of normal space." "What about the concentrated bombardment?" Vextar asked desperately. "Can we saturate the area with enough firepower to hit it regardless of its phasing ability?" "We tried that, sir. The ship appeared directly behind our bombardment formation and destroyed 60 vessels in a single attack run. It's like fighting a ghost that can kill us but cannot be killed in return." On the main tactical display, the Prometheus appeared as multiple contacts scattered throughout the Imperial formation. Each contact was simultaneously real and unreal, existing in several places at once thanks to its dimensional phasing technology. As they watched, the ship materialized directly in front of the Imperial battle group. Its quantum fold cannons fired, creating spatial tears that carved through 15 ships in seconds. Before the surviving vessels could return fire, the Prometheus phased out of existence again. "How many ships has that one vessel destroyed?" Vextar asked quietly. "Over 4,000 confirmed kills, sir. No damage to the human ship detected. 4,000 ships, an entire Imperial sector fleet wiped out by a single enemy vessel." The scale of the disaster was beyond anything in the Empire's military history. "Sir," the communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender requests from multiple ship captains. They're asking permission to withdraw from the battle zone." Vexitar's mandibles clicked in rage. "No withdrawals. We are the Grand Armada. We do not retreat from a single enemy ship." But even as he gave the order, more Imperial vessels were breaking off from the battle. Captains who had never known defeat were fleeing in terror from an enemy they could not comprehend. The Prometheus appeared again, this time directly above the Imperial flagship. Captain Chen's voice came through the communication system, clear and calm despite the destruction surrounding her ship. "Hi, Admiral Vextar," she said. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleet is defeated. I'm offering you one chance to surrender before I destroy your flagship." Vexitar activated the reply channel, his forearms trembling with fury. "You think one ship can defeat the entire Empire? Even if you destroy this fleet, there are others." "You're right," Chen replied. "There are other Imperial fleets. But after today, they'll know what happened here. They'll know that humanity is not the helpless species you thought we were." "What are you?" Vextar demanded. "What kind of weapons are those?" "They violate every law of physics." "They violate your understanding of physics," Chen corrected. "Dr. Webb designed these systems 23 years ago, when your empire first threatened us. We could have built an entire fleet of ships like the Prometheus, but we chose not to. We hoped that peace was possible." The communication paused for a moment before Chen continued. "You made us choose between peace and survival. So we chose survival." Another wave of quantum fold strikes tore through the remaining Imperial battle groups. The weapons created tears in space itself, bypassing every defense the Empire possessed. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before simply ceased to exist. "Surrender now," Chen's voice came again, "and I'll allow your surviving ships to return home. Continue fighting and I'll destroy every vessel in your fleet." High Admiral Vextar looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These were veteran officers who had conquered dozens of worlds. Now they stared at their displays in helpless terror, watching their empire's greatest military force being annihilated by technology they couldn't understand. "Sir," Commander Zektel said quietly, "perhaps we should consider—" "Never!" Vextar roared. "The Empire does not surrender to inferior species." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target that ship with everything we have. Maximum firepower." The Dominion's Edge and the remaining Imperial vessels opened fire with everything in their arsenals. Plasma cannons, particle beams, quantum torpedoes, and fusion missiles filled space with deadly energy. But the Prometheus simply phased out of normal space-time, allowing the massive barrage to pass harmlessly through the area where it had been. The ship reappeared behind the Imperial flagship, its quantum fold cannons aimed directly at the Dominion's Edge. "Last chance." Captain Chen's voice came through the communication system. Vextar closed his eyes, feeling the weight of 4 centuries of military service crashing down on him. He had never lost a battle. He had never even retreated from one. But he had also never faced an enemy like this. "All ships," he said quietly into the communication system, Cease fire and stand down. The order sent shockwaves through what remained of the Grand Armada. Imperial vessels across the battle zone powered down their weapons and raised surrender flags. A wise decision, Captain Chen replied. You have 30 minutes to gather your surviving ships and begin your withdrawal from this system. Any Imperial vessel still in human space after that time will be destroyed. As the shattered remnants of the Grand Armada began their retreat, news of the battle spread across the galaxy at faster than light speeds. The impossible had happened. The Empire's greatest military force had been defeated by a single human ship. On Earth, Admiral Rodriguez watched the tactical displays with amazement as the Imperial fleet limped away from the solar system. Captain Chen, she transmitted to the Prometheus, I'm reading fewer than 3,000 Imperial ships withdrawing. What happened to the other 5,000? They chose to fight rather than surrender, Chen replied simply. The quantum-fold weapons don't leave much debris. The magnitude of the victory was difficult to comprehend. The Prometheus had destroyed over 5,000 enemy vessels without taking any damage. It was the most one-sided military engagement in galactic history. But the impact went far beyond the immediate tactical victory. Within hours, every major government in the galaxy had received detailed reports of the battle. The Empire's reputation for invincibility had been shattered along with their fleet. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Captain Chen addressed her crew one final time. Ladies and gentlemen, we've accomplished our mission. Earth is safe, and the galaxy knows that humanity is not to be underestimated. Chief Engineer Martinez looked up from her displays. Captain, what happens now? The Empire will want revenge for this defeat, Chen smiled grimly. Let them come. Dr. Webb left detailed plans for building more ships like the Prometheus. If the Empire wants a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. The AI Athena spoke up from the ship's communication system. Captain, I have been monitoring galactic communications networks. The news of our victory is spreading rapidly. Several species that were conquered by the Empire are beginning to rebel. Good, Chen replied. Maybe it's time for the galaxy to learn that bullies can be beaten. As the Prometheus returned to Earth, its crew watched the stars with new eyes. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength was not military might or advanced technology, but the ability to think beyond conventional limits. Dr. Webb's vision had been vindicated. The Empire had prepared to fight the humans they thought they knew, a peaceful species with limited military capability. Instead, they had encountered something that challenged their fundamental understanding of warfare itself. The quantum-fold weapons represented more than just advanced technology. They represented a completely different approach to conflict, one that ignored the rules the Empire had assumed were universal. Over the following weeks, the political implications of the battle became clear. The Empire's client species began declaring independence, knowing that the supposedly invincible Imperial fleet could be defeated. Trade routes that had been controlled by Imperial forces suddenly opened to free navigation. The Zephyrian Empire, which had dominated this region of the galaxy for over 1,000 years, found itself facing the possibility of complete collapse. Their military doctrine was based on overwhelming force and intimidation. When that force proved vulnerable, their entire power structure began to crumble. Earth's government faced a choice. They could use their demonstrated technological superiority to build their own empire, replacing Zephyrian dominance with human control. Or they could use their victory to promote genuine peace and cooperation between species. Captain Chen, now promoted to admiral and placed in command of the new Prometheus-class fleet, argued strongly for the latter approach. "We didn't build these ships to conquer the galaxy," she told the Earth Council. "We built them to protect Earth. Let's not become the very thing we fought against." The Council agreed. Earth would share its defensive technology with other species, but only with those who committed to peaceful cooperation. The quantum-fold weapons would be used to protect free worlds, not to build a new empire. As Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching construction begin on 12 new ships of the same class, she reflected on how much had changed. 6 months ago, humanity had been considered one of the galaxy's minor species, peaceful but powerless. Now they were recognized as a major galactic power, but more importantly, they had proven that peaceful species were not necessarily helpless species. Sometimes, the greatest warriors were those who chose not to fight until they had no other choice. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate a species that values peace enough to prepare for war. Humanity's restraint had been mistaken for weakness, but it was actually their greatest strength. When Earth finally went to war, they did so with the accumulated knowledge and determination of a species that had tried every alternative first. The Empire had awakened a sleeping giant, and that giant had reminded the galaxy that sometimes one ship really is enough to change everything. The age of imperial dominance was over. The age of human-led galactic cooperation was about to begin. The deep space around Thermion 7 was quiet. 6 different alien species worked together at the large monitoring station. The station was huge, like a floating city in space. It watched for threats from other galaxies. Commander Zilrax stood at his post. His forearms moved across the control panels. His skin was blue and scaly, typical of the Vortanian people. "All systems normal," Lieutenant Commander Ivan reported. The Cathari officer had tentacles instead of arms. His many eyes scanned the displays. Everything looked peaceful, like it had for the past 3 years. Science Officer Thropt worked at his station nearby. The Zephyrian was covered in soft fur that changed colors with his emotions. Today it was a calm green. He analyzed data from deep space sensors. Nothing unusual. Just the same old patterns they saw every day. Then the alarm rang. Not the scary emergency alarm, but the detection alert. Something was coming toward them. Throp's fur turned yellow with surprise. "Commander, we have an energy signature approaching," Thropt announced. His voice was high and musical. "It's strange. Very strange." Zilrax moved quickly to the scanner station. His larger 2 eyes focused while the smaller ones watched the room. "What kind of signature? Known hostile forces?" "Negative, sir," Ivan said, his tentacles working fast on the controls. "This is not like anything in our database. Single vessel. But the energy output is incredible." The other crew members started gathering around. A tall Nexari officer peered over their shoulders. 2 small Quert engineers whispered to each other, in their clicking language. Everyone was curious and worried. "Try standard hailing frequencies," Zilrax ordered. "All channels. Ask them to identify themselves." Ivan sent the message in 12 different languages. Minutes passed. The unknown ship kept coming closer. Still no answer. "Sir, their speed is increasing," Thropt reported. His fur was now orange, with anxiety. "They will reach our defense perimeter in 40 minutes. Zilrax grabbed the communication device. His voice was calm but firm. "Unknown vessel, this is the Andromeda Collective Defense Station. You are entering protected space. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." Slents. The scanning console beeped faster as the ship got closer. "Energy readings are off the scale," Ivan said. "Sir, this ship's power output is more than our entire station and the defense fleet combined. It shouldn't be possible." Thropt looked up from his console. His fur was bright red now. "Commander, I need to call an emergency council meeting. The species leaders must know about this." Zilrax nodded. He pressed the emergency communication button. In minutes, holographic forms of the 6 species leaders appeared in the command center. They looked confused and worried. "Explain the situation," said Elder Krintuk, the oldest and wisest of all the species. Her ancient voice creaked like old wood. "We have an unknown vessel approaching at high speed," Zilrax reported. "Technology unknown. Power readings beyond. anything we've seen. They ignore all our communications." The leaders spoke among themselves in different languages. The translator hummed, trying to keep up with all the worried voices. "Could it be the Dark Ones returning?" asked the Nexari leader, tall and thin like a shadow. "Impossible," said the court leader, barely tall enough to see over the console. "We destroyed them 1,000 years ago." "Perhaps the Void Dwellers?" suggested another. No, Ivan interrupted. "This signature is completely different. Not dark energy, not void technology, something else entirely." The ship was getting closer. 20 minutes now until it would reach their weapons range. "Sir," Thropt called out. "I've been analyzing their approach vector. They're not coming straight for us. They're carefully avoiding our defense satellites." "What?" Zilrax asked. "They can see our defenses?" "It appears so. They're taking a very specific path that minimizes our targeting options. They know exactly where our weapons are." Ivan's tentacles moved faster. "They're slowing down now, 30,000 kilometers out, just outside our main weapons range." Elder Krintok spoke slowly. "Send the final warning. Use the ancient protocols. If they understand our languages, they will respond." Zilrax took a deep breath. "Unknown vessel, this is your final warning. You have 30 seconds to identify yourself or we will consider you hostile and take defensive action." All the aliens held their breath. Even the youngest crew members stopped their chattering. The room was completely silent except for the humming of machines. Suddenly, the communication console lit up. A voice came through the speakers. It was strange, unlike any voice they had heard before. It was deep and had a certain quality that made everyone shiver. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Starship Vengeance. We come in peace, seeking diplomatic contact with the Andromeda Collective." The silence that followed was complete. No one moved. No one breathed. "Humans," Elder Krintok whispered. "The legends were true." "Warning issued," the voice continued. "A human warship has arrived. Everything's about to change." Zilrax stared at the communication console. His 16 eyes blinked in sequence. In all his years of service and all the training simulations, they had talked about this day. The day humans would find them. "Sir," Ivan said quietly. "What do we do now?" Zilrax looked at the tactical display. The human warship waited patiently outside their weapons range. Powerful, but not aggressive. Ready, but offering peace. "We make history," he replied. "Open a full communication channel, and someone get the diplomats ready. Today, we meet the humans." Outside the station, the USS Vengeance drifted silently in space. Its hull was dark, almost invisible against the stars. Weapons were powered down, but ready. The crew inside prepared for the most important first contact in galactic history. Captain Morrison sat in his command chair, watching the alien station on his main screen. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we have incoming transmission. They're ready to talk." "Good," Morrison said. He straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. "Let's show them what humans are made of." Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the USS Vengeance. His brown eyes studied the alien station on the main screen. The crew worked quietly around him, following every word he spoke. He had waited his whole career for this moment. "Status. Report," Morrison said. Lieutenant Henry Clark looked up from his navigation console. "We're holding position, sir, 30,000 kilometers from their station. All systems green." "Communications?" Ensign Laura Walsh turned in her chair. "Channel is open, sir. They're ready to talk. I'm reading 12 different alien species using the channel. They seem very excited." Dr. Alex Kim stepped forward from his science station. The xenobiologist had been studying alien cultures for 20 years. Today was his big day, too. "Sir, their initial responses show fear mixed with curiosity. The name human seems to mean something to them." Morrison nodded. Earth's deep space probes had been watching these aliens for decades. They knew humans were coming eventually. "Begin visual transmission, let them see what we look like." The main screen switched to show the inside of the alien station. Morrison saw creatures he had only seen in training hollows. Blue scaly beings with 4 arms, tentacled creatures with many eyes, furry beings that changed colors. They all stared back at him with wide eyes. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of Earth," he spoke slowly and clearly. "We come as friends. We seek peaceful contact with your collective," the aliens whispered among themselves. Morrison could see their body language showed surprise. Dr. Kim watched his scanners carefully. "Captain," Dr. Kim said quietly. "Their heart rates are elevated. Physical signs show stress, but not immediate threat response. The blue one seems to be their leader," the aliens finally responded. Commander Zilrax's voice came through the speakers. "Captain Morrison, we are the Andromeda Collective, 6 species working together for mutual defense. How did you find us?" Morrison smiled. "We have been watching and learning. We always reach out to neighbors when we find them. May we send our diplomat to meet with you formally?" There was a pause. Morrison heard rapid clicking and musical sounds as the aliens talked among themselves. Their languages were complex, but Earth's translators had studied them for years. "You say diplomat," Zilrax replied. "But your ship, it is military. A warship. We can see weapons." "Yes," Morrison said honestly. "We come prepared for any situation. But we prefer peaceful solutions. Our weapons are powered down as a sign of good faith," Dr. Kim leaned in to whisper. "They're scared of us, sir. But they're also curious. The tentacled one keeps checking our power readings." Morrison addressed the aliens again. "We understand your caution. In our travels we have met many species. We have learned that prepared peace is the best path forward. May we share food and culture with you?" The aliens seemed confused. The furry one's colors shifted rapidly. Morrison could see they were debating. "You travel far from home," Zilrax said. "Your technology allows such distance?" "We have colonies beyond your sensor range," Morrison replied. "Earth has many children exploring the stars. The Vengeance represents our peaceful efforts to establish contact." Lieutenant Clark checked his console. "Sir, they're running deep scans on us. They're trying to understand our technology." "Let them," Morrison said calmly. "Transparency builds trust." On the alien station, the species leaders gathered in emergency council. Morrison could see them on a smaller screen. They argued in many languages, their gestures wild and worried. Finally, Elder Krintak spoke directly to Morrison. "Captain, we have legends of humans. Stories passed down for generations. They say humans are kind but deadly, peaceful but prepared for terrible war. Are these true?" Morrison chose his words carefully. "We have known war, Elder. We have known peace. We prefer peace, but will defend ourselves and our friends. We offer you our friendship and our protection, if needed." The aliens looked at each other. Even across species, Morrison could see their surprise at the offer. "Protection?" Zilrax asked. "From whom?" "From any who would harm you," Morrison replied. "Our scans show your defensive capabilities, impressive for your region. But we have encountered threats that might challenge you." Dr. Kim stepped forward again. "Sir, I suggest we show them our diplomatic protocols. Standard Earth greeting procedures." Morrison nodded. "Preparing cultural exchange package. May we transmit?" The aliens agreed. The Vengeance began sending information about Earth, human history, and diplomatic customs. The aliens watched with growing amazement. "Your species fought wars like this?" Zilrax asked, seeing human historical footage. "Such destruction, yet you also create such beauty." "Humans contain contradictions," Morrison explained. "We learned from our mistakes. War taught us the value of peace." Ensign Walsh approached the Corps. "Captain." "Sir, they're asking about our crew. They want to know more about human society." Morrison opened a channel to show different areas of the ship. The aliens saw humans working together, exercising, eating meals. Simple daily life aboard a warship. The alien response was immediate chatter. Throp's fur shifted through many colors. Evan's tentacles moved rapidly. They were fascinated and worried at the same time. Your ship, it is so organized, Elder Krintak observed. Your crew follows orders precisely. This is military discipline? We choose to serve together, Morrison replied. Each human can leave if they wish. We stay because we believe in our mission. The conversation continued for an hour. Morrison answered questions about Earth, human culture, and their intentions. The aliens grew more comfortable but remained cautious. Finally, Zilrax made a decision. Captain Morrison, we will accept your diplomat. But know that if you betray our trust, we have allies throughout this sector. Morrison stood. Understood and respected. We will send Ambassador Grace Chen. She speaks for all of Earth. As the transmission ended, Morrison looked at his crew. Well done, everyone. First contact complete. Now the real work begins. Dr. Kim approached the captain. Sir, they're more advanced diplomatically than we expected, but they're also more vulnerable militarily. They need allies. Morrison nodded. Perhaps we can help each other. That's what good neighbors do. Outside, the alien station and human warship drifted in space. Two civilizations meeting for the first time. Both hoping for friendship. Both prepared for anything. The stars watched silently as history was made. Ambassador Grace Chen stepped out of the drop pod onto the alien station. She wore a diplomatic uniform, not a military one. Her black hair was neat, her expression calm and confident. Behind her, two human Marines stood ready, their weapons holstered. The alien welcoming party was impressive. Commander Zilrax led them with representatives from all 6 species. They looked nervous but curious. Grace bowed slightly in the human way, then gestured with open hands. Thank you for allowing me to visit your home, Grace said. I bring greetings from Earth and all human colonies. Elder Krintak stepped forward. Her ancient eyes studied Grace carefully. You are different from your captain. Less military. Grace smiled. Humans have many roles. Some protect, some explore, some build bridges between peoples. I am a bridge builder. The aliens led her to a large meeting room. It was designed for all 6 species, with different seating arrangements and atmosphere zones. Grace noticed how, well, they accommodated each other's needs. Back on the USS Vengeance, Commander Ben Phillips watched the diplomatic feeds. As tactical officer, he monitored everything. Captain Morrison stood beside him. The station's defenses are more advanced than our intelligence suggested, Phillips observed, but still vulnerable to our weapons if needed. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Morrison replied. In the meeting room, Grace began presenting. Earth's formal proposals. The aliens listened carefully, but Elder Krintak soon held up a hand. Before we discuss alliances, the Elder said, we must share something. We have known about humans for many years. Grace raised an eyebrow. Oh? Thropt activated a holographic display. Our deep space sensors detected your observation drones 3 years ago. We have been watching you watch us. Grace nodded slowly. And you said nothing? We wanted to understand your intentions, Zilrax explained. Your drones were very advanced, far beyond what we initially detected from your ship. Commander Evan added, speaking of detection, your ship's true capabilities are much greater than what you show. Our detailed scans reveal hidden weapon systems. Shielding technology we cannot explain. Engines that could achieve speeds no known species can match. Grace's expression never changed. You are very observant. Yes, the Vengeance carries more than it shows. Captain Morrison believes in prepared diplomacy. Prepared diplomacy? Elder Krintak questioned. We come in peace, but we come prepared for anything, Grace explained. In our 12 previous first contacts with alien species, this approach has ensured mutual respect. The aliens exchanged glances. 12 previous contacts? You have met 12 other species? Zilrax asked slowly. Grace activated her own holographic display. Images of different alien beings appeared. The Korvax, who trade in crystalline technology. The Zenth, mathematical beings who live in binary star systems. The Aquari, underwater, creatures who taught us ocean terraforming. And 9 others, all peaceful relationships now. The collective leaders spoke among themselves rapidly. Their body language showed shock and excitement. Sub-Commander Lisa Park, standing with Grace, stepped forward. "May I share our intelligence findings?" Grace nodded. Lisa activated another display. "Our observations show your collective has been losing military strength for the past 50 years. Border raids increase yearly. Your species rely on each other, but lack coordinated defense strategies." The aliens looked uncomfortable. This was embarrassing secret information. "We also detect 3 nearby hostile powers that your border defenses cannot fully counter," Lisa continued. "The Drakari Empire, the Void Hunter clans, and the machine entities known as the Harvesters." Zilrax's 4 arms crossed defensively. "How could you know all this?" "Human intelligence gathering is our specialty," Lisa said simply. "We've been preparing for this meeting for years. We know your strengths and weaknesses. We want to help with the weaknesses." Captain Morrison appeared on a communication screen. "Ambassador Chen, permission to be frank with our new friends?" "Granted, Captain." Morrison's image changed, showing him standing in a different part of the Vengeance. Large windows revealed Earth's most powerful warships surrounding the alien station. 30 ships had arrived silently during the talks. The aliens jumped up, in alarm. Their weapons systems activated automatically. "Peace," Grace called out. "Captain?" Morrison smiled. "Ambassador, our ships are powered down. Weapons offline. This is not a threat display. This is a protection detail. We detected 3 Drakari scout ships approaching this sector an hour ago. Our fleet is here to ensure these talks proceed without interruption." Zilrax stared at the display. "You brought a fleet, and we didn't detect them?" "Human stealth technology," Morrison explained. "The same technology that allowed our drones to observe you for years. The same technology that keeps our colonies safe from detection." Grace leaned forward. "The truth is, humans have been the invisible power in this region for decades. We've prevented wars you never knew about, stopped invasion fleets before they reached your borders, protected species who never knew they needed protection." Elder Krintak sat down heavily. "The legends were understated. Humans are not just prepared for war. You have been conducting a shadow peace for years." "We prefer this approach," Grace said. "Help where needed, stay hidden when possible, reveal ourselves only when beneficial for all parties." Commander Phillips appeared on another screen. "Collective Defense Command, we have incoming. 3 Drakari attack ships just dropped out of hyperspace. Permission to engage?" The room fell silent. Grace looked at the alien leaders. "This is what I meant by everything changing. We can defend this station with minimal damage, but you must choose. Continue alone or accept our alliance." Morrison appeared again. "Decision time, friends. Do we fight together?" Zilrax looked at his fellow commanders. In seconds, they shared 1,000 years of military tradition. Then he straightened, his scaly shoulders. "Captain Morrison, Ambassador Chen, the Andromeda Collective accepts humanity's offer of alliance. Let us face these Drakari together." Grace smiled. "Then let's show them what true coordination can accomplish." The war alarms began to sound, but for the first time in decades, the Collective faced battle with powerful allies by their side. Morrison's voice came over all channels. "All ships, battle stations. Today, we fight as one." The Drakari attack ships appeared on the tactical display. 3 large warships bigger than the USS Vengeance. Captain Dan Foster watched from the bridge of the USS Titan, the 2nd human warship. "Sir, enemy ships are charging weapons." Lieutenant Kyle Warren reported from his fighter squadron console. "They're targeting the alien station." "Red alert," Foster ordered. "Launch all fighters, weapons free." Morrison's voice came over the fleet channel. "All ships, defensive formation Sigma. Protect the station. Collective vessels, follow our lead." The alien ships moved into position. They were used to fighting alone, but now they had to coordinate with the human fleet. Commander Ben Phillips on the Vengeance sent tactical data to all Allied ships. Collective vessels, this is Commander Phillips. Upload our tactical network to your systems. Our computers will help coordinate your attacks. Zilrak sat in the alien station's command center. His species had fought the Drakari before, always alone, always barely surviving. Now he watched human ships move with incredible precision. Commander, the human tactical network is online, Yven reported. Sir, it's amazing they're sharing real-time battle data with all ships. The Drakari opened fire. Massive energy beams struck the station's shields, but the human ships moved instantly to intercept. Return fire, Morrison ordered. Protect that station. The Vengeance unleashed its weapons. The aliens watched in shock as human technology tore through Drakari shields like paper. Energy beams, missiles, and weapons they had never seen before. Lieutenant Warren led his fighter squadron from the Titan. 20 small human fighters against Drakari combat vessels. The aliens thought it was suicide. They were wrong. Phoenix, Squadron, Attack Pattern Delta, Warren commanded. Watch those missile locks. The human fighters moved in perfect formation. They flew in 3 dimensions, using maneuvers no alien pilot had ever seen. Gravity forces that would kill most species didn't even slow them down. A Drakari fighter squadron launched to intercept. The alien and human pilots watched the dogfight unfold. Look at them fly, Thropt whispered, his fur bright blue with amazement. Those speeds should tear their bodies apart. Human pilots performed impossible turns, pulling dozens of G-forces without losing consciousness. Their ships seemed to dance between Drakari fire. One Drakari command ship targeted the alien defense platforms. The station's weapons were no match for its heavy armor. Morrison saw the threat. Phillips, divert power to forward weapons. We're going in. The Vengeance accelerated directly at the huge Drakari ship. It was 3 times larger with much heavier armor. The aliens thought Morrison had gone insane. Sir, collision course, Laura Walsh called out. Steady as she goes. Morrison replied calmly. All power to shields forward. Prepare torpedo spread. The 2 ships bore down on each other. At the last second, Morrison ordered maximum thrust upward. The Vengeance swept over the Drakari ship, firing every weapon into its weak top armor. Explosions rocked the enemy vessel. The Drakari ship began to list badly. Sir, you're injured. Dr. Kim rushed to Morrison as shrapnel hit the captain's shoulder. It's nothing. Continue the attack, Morrison ordered, blood seeping through his uniform. The second Drakari ship targeted the Titan. Foster's ship took heavy fire. Alien crew members on nearby ships watched the battle unfold. Human ship is badly damaged, Commander, Nina Hughes reported. The collective officer was quickly learning human tactics. We must help them. Phillips immediately sent coordinates to all collective vessels. All Allied ships, concentrate fire on that Drakari vessel. Follow our targeting data. For the first time, alien and human weapons fired together. The combined assault overwhelmed the Drakari ship's defenses. Human technology guided alien weapons. For maximum effectiveness, the 3rd Drakari vessel attempted to escape. Warren and his fighter squadron pursued. Don't let it get away, Warren ordered. Form up, attack run Gamma. The fighters dove as one unit. Their combined fire hit the fleeing ship's engines. It exploded in a brilliant flash. The battle was over. 3 Drakari ships destroyed. No Allied vessels lost. The alien station suffered minor damage only. Morrison slumped in his chair, exhausted and bleeding. Status report? Enemy vessels destroyed, Phillips reported. Minimal Allied casualties. Station integrity at 92%. In the alien command center, the species leaders stared at their displays in disbelief. A battle they would have lost terribly had been won easily with human help. Did you see that? Zilrax asked the room. Human fighters pulling maneuvers that should be physically impossible. Their ships working as one perfect unit. Our own weapons suddenly 10 times more effective. Elder Krintak nodded slowly. And Morrison continued fighting while injured. Their discipline under fire is incredible. Communication channels opened between all ships. Alien and human crew members began talking to each other. Human pilots. Called an alien fighter pilot. How did you fly like that? Kyle Warren appeared on the screen, grinning despite his exhaustion. Lots of training. Want us to show you the basic moves? On the station, Grace Chen found Zilrax in his command center. Commander, our medical teams can help with your wounded. Human doctors are already treating Captain Morrison. Ambassador, your people fought for us, bled for us, we owe you. Grace shook her head. Allies don't owe each other. They help each other. Today was just the beginning. Morrison appeared on the command screen, his shoulder bandaged. Collective forces performed admirably today. Your quick adaptation to our tactical network was impressive. Nina Hughes stepped forward. Captain Morrison, we have never fought so effectively. Human technology combined with our local knowledge. It's powerful. Morrison smiled weakly. That's what alliances are about. Different strengths working together. Foster's ship, the Titan, moved alongside the station. His crew waved at the alien workers through their viewports. Some aliens waved back hesitantly. Warren led his fighter squadron in a victory fly past. Alien fighters joined the formation. It was sloppy and disorganized, but it was a start. As the combined fleet began repair operations, both species realized something had changed forever. The Drakari would tell others about this alliance. Word would spread. Humanity had revealed itself as the region's true protector, and the collective had found allies worth having. Morrison turned to his crew. Dr. Kim, how are our shared medical procedures working? Perfectly, sir. Human and alien physiology are compatible for basic treatments. We're learning from each other already. The captain nodded. Good. Because something tells me this was just the first test. Bigger challenges are coming. Through the viewports, Earth's sun shone in the distance, no longer just a distant star but a beacon of hope for two civilizations. The war was won. The alliance was forged in fire, and everything had indeed changed. 3 months after the Drakari battle, the aliens' homeworld prepared for the most important ceremony in their history. Ships from all 6 species filled the space around the planet. Human vessels stood alongside them, no longer strangers, but friends. President Elizabeth Burke stepped out of her shuttle onto the grand platform. The entire leadership of Earth had traveled across the galaxy for this moment, the treaty that would change 2 civilizations forever. Admiral Steve Rogers surveyed the mixed fleet from his flagship. Human and alien ships now shared technology, weapon systems, and crew members. The transformation had been rapid and remarkable. Sir, Commander Jack Miller reported from the bridge. Miller had been chosen to lead the first joint base. The Academy construction is ahead of schedule. Both species are eager to train together. The ceremony began with traditional alien music. Then human orchestral pieces filled the air. The 2 cultures had found harmony in more than just military tactics. President Burke stood before the collective council. Elder Krintak held an ancient crystal that contained the binding agreement. Today we make history, Burke announced. The Earth Collective Alliance represents not just military cooperation, but shared wisdom, shared dreams, and shared futures. The signing proceeded species by species. Each leader of the collective touched the crystal. President Burke placed her hand last. The crystal glowed with a soft light that could be seen from space. The alliance is sealed, Elder Krintak declared. May it bring peace to our children's children. Above them, the combined fleet performed coordinated maneuvers. Human and alien fighters flew in mixed squadrons. Ships that once frightened the collective now protected it. Commander Dan Foster watched from the Titan's command center. Beautiful sight, isn't it? Never thought I'd see Cathari and human pilots wing to wing. Lieutenant Kyle Warren appeared on his screen. Sir, the new integrated squadron training exceeds all expectations. Alien pilots are adapting to human G-force techniques. We're learning their precision navigation. The treaty included extensive technology sharing. Human jump drive designs merged with collective navigation systems. Alien biological sciences. Enhanced human medical capabilities. Grace Chen, now permanent ambassador, worked on establishing embassies. 6 worlds would host permanent human populations. Earth would welcome alien residents in return. The cultural exchange programs are already successful, she reported to President Burke. Human children learning alien languages. Alien young ones fascinated by human video games. Captain Jake Morrison, recently promoted to Admiral, commanded the Joint Exploration Initiative. The first combined mission would venture beyond both civilizations' previous reach. We're exploring regions neither species could reach alone, Morrison explained to the mixed crew. Your different technologies complement each other perfectly. Ensign Sarah Watson made history as the first human to serve aboard a collective command ship. Her experience shaped the exchange program for thousands of others. The crew accepts me, she reported. My different perspective actually helps them solve problems they couldn't before. The military academies graduated their first joint classes. Human discipline combined with alien intuition. Young warriors trained in tactics from both civilizations. Physical training nearly killed me, admitted Javar, a young Nexari graduate. But humans taught me limits are meant to be pushed. Philosophy classes from the Zephyrians changed how I think, said Mary Clark, a human cadet. They see battle as art, not just science. Economic cooperation flourished beyond expectations. Earth's manufacturing combined with alien resource extraction. Trade routes crossed between galaxies now traveled safely under joint protection. Human engines powered alien cargo ships. Alien shield technology protected Earth's vulnerable colonies. The prosperity benefited both civilizations equally. Space itself looked different now. Warning buoys around systems displayed Earth and collective symbols together. Pirates and raiders discovered that attacking one species meant facing both. The Drakari haven't been seen in this sector for months, Fleet Admiral Rogers observed. Word spread fast about our alliance. Dr. Alex Kim divided his time between the cultures. Medical breakthroughs are happening weekly. Alien regeneration techniques help human wounds. Our surgical tools work on all species now. The first joint colony ship launched from shared shipyards. Humans and aliens would settle a new world together. The mixing of cultures would be constant, natural. My children will grow up with alien friends, Commander Phillips remarked as he watched the launch. Hard to imagine just 6 months ago. Elder Krintak visited Earth during the first cultural summit. She marveled at human diversity, the different races and cultures within one species. You understand multi-species cooperation already, she observed. Perhaps that prepared you for us. Late one night, Morrison found himself sharing drinks with Zilrax in the station's observation lounge. Both veterans of the first battle, they had become unlikely friends. Your warning was more accurate than we knew, Zilrax noted. Everything truly changed. Morrison smiled. Good change, though. Our children will know a galaxy where different species work together. Through the viewing port, they watched joint construction ships building the universe's first truly multi-species space station. Human and alien workers floated side by side. The station would serve as headquarters for combined exploration. Its crew would be mixed from the start. No species-only sections. Complete integration. We'll face new challenges, Morrison admitted. Threats neither of us has encountered. Zilrax nodded, his scales shifting to a content blue. But we'll face them together. That makes all the difference. The first human collective diplomatic mission departed for unknown space. 20 ships, both designs, shared crews. They carried messages of peace and offers of friendship to undiscovered species. President Burke addressed the galaxy in her final speech. Let all civilizations know, Earth and the collective stand united. We offer our hand in friendship, our knowledge to share, and our strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The message reached even the Drakari Empire. Former enemies saw potential allies. Hostile powers recognized a new balance. In classrooms across both civilizations, young ones learned shared histories. Human courage in the battle of Earth's moon became alien folklore. Collective unity during the dark time inspired human philosophers. Steve Rogers retired as Admiral, passing command to Morrison. His final order established the Joint Defense Force. No longer human or alien forces, but one, unified military. 6 months after first contact, the Andromeda Collective was no longer the same. Neither was humanity. They had become something new together. Warning beacons now broadcast a different message. This space protected by the Earth Collective Alliance. Enter in peace or depart in pieces. Everything had indeed changed. Two species became one force for stability, exploration, and protection in a dangerous galaxy. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, lighting the way for countless worlds to find friendship, strength, and hope in unity. Deep in space, human and alien ships traveled together toward the unknown, ready for anything, together.